Welcome to our YouTube channel, Moneyline with Nancy TV. This is where you get the latest updates on business, finance, economy, market, as well as investment information. If you couldn't follow us live on television, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, press the notification bell so that you can get notifications. Thank you. Enjoy this video. All right, welcome back. My guest is joining me right now. He's Dr. Kennedy Iwundu. He's chartered, immediate past, because he has, you see, he's wearing one cap, but he has many hats. Immediate past chair of CIT and the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. Welcome, Dr. Iwundu.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm good.
What do you think? What are your sentiments concerning this? It seems that there's a uhuru now. You know, there seems to be like a political solution to revenue sharing, actually, because VAT, unlike what we used to have before, you know the formula, yes. But it seems that there's some kind of truce now. What do you think? What are your sentiments?
Okay, I want to start saying that historically, vertical revenue sharing formula has never been the problem. The problem has been on horizontal sharing formula. You know, vertical formula is where you share in between the levels of government. But when you share at the same level of government, it becomes problematic. Sharing revenue, especially VAT, horizontally has always been a problem. Currently, we are having 50% equity, 20% by derivation, and 30% by population. So when it was changed to 60% derivation, 20% equity, and 20% population, many governors opposed it. And we are back to where we are before, because what the governors are proposing is similar to what we are currently practicing. The difference is that derivation has been increased to 30% and population has reduced to 20%. But that wasn't the intention of the tax reform bill. The intention of tax reform bill is to promote industrialization. And you cannot promote industrialization when you fail to implement derivation. You can only promote industrialization when you implement derivation. Let me give you an example. Most of the states in the north claim they don't collect much VAT. The reason is because they are agriculturally based. Most of the productions are agricultural production because agricultural goods are exempted from VAT. Agreed. Now, but this offers an opportunity for governors in that area to begin to talk about industrializing the region. Because it is very clear that any state that has more industries than others are likely to collect VAT more than others. For example, now if the northern part of the country is producing tomatoes and sending it to the south for tomato paste, most of the companies producing it will go to pay VAT to the government. So we expect those in the north to say, we have a lot of agricultural produce. Can we encourage the growth of so many cottage industries that will begin to transform these non-vatable goods into semi and finished goods so that they themselves can collect VAT. So what the governors have just done is just to go back to status quo. As far as I'm concerned, that's what they have done. Because the same 50% equity is what they have gone to. Then population that is 30 before, they now give population 20% and increase slightly the derivation to 30%. So they don't even want that derivation to be 60% at all. But the objective of the tax reform is to promote industrialization, to promote production.
So you're saying with this new proposal that we are not seeing any thinking that will go on there in terms of innovative economic thinking? Because, of course, VAT proceeds, what they're saying, when they get the VAT proceeds, they will actually, 10% definitely goes to federal government. Yes. So 10% goes to federal government. The 90%, 50% of that 90%
to states.
To states, that is equally, as it were, equality, 20% on population, 30% on derivation. Yeah. So isn't there no innovative economic thinking there? Because you're saying that it's still just status quo. There's really nothing there.
I have been a proponent of true federalism. Nigeria is not practicing true federalism. A true federalism is a state where you allow states to generate their resources.
What is true and what is federalism?
The
Federalism is federalism. It's just that for here.
We are practicing federalism.
Okay.
We claim we are practicing federalism, but that's not what we are doing. That's why I'm using the word true. If we are really practicing true federalism, federal government will not be generating revenue to be sharing to states. You allow states to generate their revenue. You allow them to generate their VAT. You allow them to generate their personal income tax as is currently being done. You allow them to generate all the taxes and revenues and run their state. It will bring competition among the states. But the situation where you generate revenue for everybody and share to people, do you think the country will develop? The country will not develop. And that's the reality, because you cannot be doing the same thing and expect a different result. Over the years, every government that comes in will tell you, give us time. Give us time, we're going to put the country in order. When the government leaves, another government will come and say, give us time. And we continue to this give us time because the structure is very wrong. We're in the wrong structure. So the idea of removing derivation from 60% and take it back to 30% and equality will be 50% does not address the objective of the tax reform policy. The tax reform policy has the objective of promoting industrialization to states who have been adamant to industrialize their state.
So with this now, it will still not promote it.
Exactly. When you industrialize your state, the chances of you generating revenue like VAT is very evident. So, but now, where a state governor believes that, no, I don't need to encourage production here, I don't need to encourage industrialization, let them just share and give me my own share and I'll run my state. It doesn't promote critical thinking. Because we want something that will make governors think. You think out of box, how do I increase internal generated revenue of my state? So many governors now, when they come on board, they do not think of how to generate revenue to run their state. At worst case scenario, they go and take loan and leave. And that's why you see some states, when the governor leaves, the debt profile happens to rise before he can, because there's nothing he's thinking. Get federal allocation and borrow money. That is the only thing.
So what would you have rather seen as a tax practitioner? What would you have suggested?
What I would have suggested is to leave that derivation to be at 60%, so that it will encourage states that are encouraging production. Because when you have a lot of productive activities in your state, it will make you meet up in generating the VAT, and you wouldn't be at lose in terms. You wouldn't be losing in terms of I'm not going to have enough VAT that is coming to me in terms of derivation, because I have a lot of companies that are promoted to be. And when you industrialize a country, it goes a long way to reduce insecurity, to promote employment, to reduce poverty. So the 36 state governors will have, what are the strategies that they're having for industrialization in the country? Because sometimes everybody is relying on federal government. I'll tell you, federal government only cannot develop Nigeria without the complementary effort of the 36 state governors. If the 36 states are not doing much, there's nothing federal government can do.
So what are your thoughts on leaving VAT as it is at 7.5% and no reduction, no tampering of CIT?
Yeah, I support the governors in saying, no, don't increase VAT now, because
it would have increased this year.
Exactly, by 10%.
Yes.
Yeah, I support the governors, because one of the reasons why I support the governors is that the federal government is striving to see how they curtail inflation rate. So you can't be saying, I want inflation rate to go down,
the other side,
and you're applying an expansionary fiscal policy.
Possibly.
When you increase the VAT rate, of course, the prices of things will go up. So if you are trying to tame inflation, you don't engage or embark in expansionary fiscal policy. I also like what the governors did in terms of not allowing the funding for TETFUND. TETFUND has done very well. On my personal view, I've visited so many universities, so many polytechnics, so many colleges of education. I've seen TETFUND projects across board. So the idea to say in 2025 you stop funding TETFUND, or maybe in 2030 you stop funding TETFUND and now move the money to students' loan scheme is wrong. Students' loan scheme, you are not going to recover. How are you sure that the loan scheme...
There will not be 100% recovery rate. The U.S. is even suffering from own...
United States, even at the point, the President Biden, at the point, had to cancel some debt for some students. Because it was rising. So what United States has found it difficult to manage is what you want to put your head into. So the idea of stopping state funding and say you want to divert the money to students, to me, is not acceptable. So I love what the governors did there by saying, no, you can't stop. And there's no alternative way of funding. The government did not provide that if we stop funding TETFUND, this is the alternative way we're going to use to fund TETFUND. Because the defense from the government angle is, no, we are not scrapping TETFUND. The only thing is that we are stopping the funding. We are going to look for alternative funding. But
budgetary funding.
Yes, there's no
sources.
clear picture. I know how Nigeria works now. There's no clear picture of how to fund TETFUND. So it's a gradual way of winding it up. So I like what the governors did by making sure that TETFUND funding is not stopped. I like what they did by making sure that the VAT rate is not increased, at least for now, to tame inflation. But on taking it back to status quo to say we don't want derivation to be 60%, I don't think that is good for the development of the country.
Where does it leave Nigerians now? So explain to an average Nigerian that is watching today what that means for him or her. Because this, what the news came in yesterday, still a developing story. Taiwo Oyedele has said that they expect that it will be passed in this first quarter, and perhaps implementation will start by July. What does it mean for Nigerians? What does it mean for businesses? Have your clients been calling you since yesterday?
Yeah,
so
of course.
to find out what the what the latest should be concerning their businesses.
Yeah, in terms of VAT rate, the status quo remains. For this year, there's no increment in VAT rate. Had it been that the be passed through under the 10%, this year would be charging 10% on any VAT.
But I'm not even sure there's even a clarity as to when VAT, whether it's this year because of inflation.
The proposal made it that from 2025, 10%.
Yes.
Then later on, 12.5%. Then later on, 15%.
Yes, 15%.
And so the 10% would have started 2025.
So is that one they suspended? That is from...
I think what the governors...
I hope you understand
yes,
because there was no clarity
exactly.
there.
What the governors are looking at it now is that, okay, suspend increment for now. Maybe you can do that later, but for now, suspend it. I agree with that, because if we are trying to tame inflation in the country, you don't go about increasing the tax rate. You can use tax administration effectiveness to increase revenue without increasing tax rate. I've said it several times. When I was in the United States in 2013 to read a course, when I lodged in the hotel, do you know that immediately I made payment, the sales tax was automatically remitted to government?
The sales tax?
Automatically, from the hotel to the government. So you can use some technology to collect taxes at source without allowing people to, first of all, collect the VAT and choose what to give government as VAT. So administratively, you can deploy technology solutions where these collections can be made without leakages. And once you do that, you can see the VAT collection will go up without necessarily increasing the rate. You can improve administrative efficiency of tax collection to double whatever we are collecting today without increasing the tax rate. And I've said this several times. Increasing tax revenue does not translate that we must increase the tax rate. You can improve in collection process, reduce leakages and corruption, and I'm telling you the revenue will increase.
Okay, back to my question, which I asked earlier, in terms of implication for businesses and Nigerians.
The implication for businesses and Nigerians is that we are still, our businesses have not, nothing has happened to it. So nothing in terms of increasing our cost, because normally as a client, if I give you a bill, I would have asked at 10%.
I'm telling you.
I would have added 10% instead of 7.5%, you know. And definitely it's a transferred cost. So when you do that, people will still transfer it to other final consumers. So at the end of the day, we still remain where we are because we are looking at the way to tame inflation in the country. But as for the government as a whole, as for the country as a whole, I don't think that will go a long way to, in terms of the derivation I'm talking about. It didn't go a long way to promote because what the idea of derivation we wanted to do is, how can you promote so many businesses in your place to generate VAT so that when the federal government collects this VAT, much more will come to you. But where you say, no, I don't have many companies in my state, I won't allow this derivation to take place, let them continue to share the revenue. It means that you have not changed your mindset about the non-performance of your state in terms of industrialization. That is exactly what it shows. The governors are apprehensive. I know they are very powerful set of people when it comes to politics. When they meet, whatever they say, the president cannot say no. So they are very powerful. So, but I love what is happening because my fear initially is that they may throw away the entire bill. But you don't need to throw away the baby with the bathwater because there are so many advantages, so many benefits in that tax reform bill. So you can't feel because of that sharing formula, you throw the entire thing away. I was even saying initially that if that would be the cost of not passing that bill, let's suspend it for now, pass the rest of the bill, and later on we can discuss about it.
Okay. How about the issue on population? What do you think? Because people are saying, okay, you're still bringing that issue of population here, which has also been a bit controversial for many years. Yes. Now it's 20%. What do you think?
Yeah, the issue of population
because
has
states
been,
like Lagos, Kano, Rivers, and all that.
And we are still using estimates because
yes.
Last time the National Population Commission announced that they received funding
for
to conduct
census.
Census. At the end of the day, we didn't hear anything from them. So we expected that for now, by now, Nigeria is supposed to have conducted a census that will give us a better figure of the population of the country as well as the population of various states in the country. But again, the population of a state, if you are practicing true federalism, as I said, shouldn't be a yardstick to share revenue. Yes, because your population should be an advantage for you to generate revenue. Any state that have more population supposed to have
more economic activities.
Exactly, there should be more economic activity to generate more revenue. Not giving you revenue, but generating the revenue. But we have turned it the other way around. Instead of using it to generate revenue, you are using it to collect revenue, which is wrong when it comes to federalism. So we expect, like if you get to the United States, there are some states that have more population. The California and all those people, New York, they have more population. You can see that their revenue generation profile is very high. Because if you also check the smaller state, the revenue generation is very low. And they don't operate this where federal government will be giving them revenue, sharing the revenue. The federal government is there watching them. You do your business, you collect your revenue, you pay a percentage to the federal government, and you run your state. And so I expect that with time, we have our political leaders, we begin to think towards this direction. Because right now, some people are not thinking towards that direction. They believe that revenue must be shared, that we shouldn't generate it. Federal government generate and share us. And I'm telling you, it will not take this country to the promised land. Okay,
I think we'll leave it at that. I'll hope to have you again. Let's see what happens within this first quarter, like Taiwo Yedele has said, and we will continue to follow the story. So thank you very much, Dr. Iwundu.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Dr. Kennedy Iwundu, a immediate past chair of CITN Abuja District, a chartered accountant, and also a tax practitioner. You heard him earlier say, my clients. So he does all that for businesses. Thank you for watching. In case this is your first time watching us, thank you. Don't subscribe to the channel, drop your comments as well as like, and most of all, share our content.